The emergency alarm screamed through the corridors of the human battleship Defiant. Admiral Alex Carter felt his stomach drop as he read the tactical display. 15 years of alliance with the Galactic Defense Coalition was about to end in the worst possible way. "Sir, we're getting multiple distress signals from the strike force," Communications Officer Tom Blake reported, his voice tight with worry. "General Santos and her fleet are trapped in the Crimson Nebula. The synthetics have surrounded them completely." Carter stared at the holographic display showing the battle. Red dots representing enemy synthetic ships formed a deadly circle around, the blue markers of humanity's elite strike force. For 3 days, Santos and her people had fought their way deep into machine territory to destroy the synthetic command hub. They were so close to victory that Carter could taste it. "Where are our coalition allies?" Carter demanded. The Draxian fleet was supposed to provide cover. The Luminals promised energy support. Where the hell are they? Blake's face went pale as he checked his instruments. "Sir, I'm showing massive coalition fleet movements. They're pulling back, all of them. Every single alien ship is retreating from the combat zone." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Carter felt ice form in his veins. Something was very wrong. The coalition had planned this operation for months. They knew how important it was. The synthetic command hub controlled enemy forces across 3 star systems. Destroying it would save millions of lives. "Get me Admiral Vash of the Draxian fleet," Carter ordered. "Now." The lizard-like face of the Draxian commander appeared on screen. His yellow eyes avoided Carter's gaze. "Admiral Carter, I regret to inform you that Coalition Command has ordered a strategic withdrawal. The mission parameters have changed." "Changed?" Carter's voice rose. "General Santos and 40,000 human soldiers are about to die. We can break through the synthetic lines if you support us. We've done it before." "The decision is final," Vash replied coldly. "Coalition forces are withdrawing to defensive positions. Your people should have followed orders." The screen went dark. Carter stood frozen for a moment, then turned to his weapons officer. "All ships, prepare for attack run. We're going to get our people out." But it was too late. On the tactical display, Carter watched in horror as the red dots closed in. Santos had been leading humanity's finest, the first Earth Strike Force, veterans of a dozen coalition campaigns. They had saved alien worlds, liberated coalition colonies, and shed their blood for species who now abandoned them. The battle lasted 6 hours. Carter's rescue fleet fought desperately to break through, but without coalition support, they couldn't penetrate the synthetic defenses. One by one, the blue dots vanished from the display. Santos's final transmission crackled through the static. "Tell Earth. Tell them we did our duty. Tell them to remember." When the synthetics finally withdrew, Carter's ships found only wreckage, floating in space. 42,000 humans dead. The entire strike force wiped out while their allies watched from safe distance. The aftermath was even worse than the battle. Coalition news broadcasts blamed the disaster on human recklessness and failure to follow orders. They claimed Santos had ignored retreat commands and led her people into a trap. The alien media painted humans as dangerous cowboys who couldn't be trusted with complex military operations. Carter knew it was all lies. He had the communication records. The coalition had planned this from the beginning, but when he tried to present evidence to Coalition Command, they dismissed his complaints as emotional human grief responses. 3 weeks later, Carter found himself in a secure chamber deep inside Earth's orbital defense station. Director Emma Walsh, head of human intelligence, placed a data pad on the table between them. Her face was grim. "We intercepted this transmission between coalition leadership," she said quietly. "You need to see it." Carter activated the device. The recording was in multiple alien languages, but the translation was clear enough. He heard Admiral Vash speaking with high-entity radiance of the Luminals and Hive speaker Zeph of the Krell. "The Yao, human military grows too strong," Vash's translated voice said. "Their tactical innovations threaten our strategic superiority. They adapt faster than any species we've encountered. Their technology advances at an alarming rate," Radiance added, its energy form flickering with concern. They've begun reverse engineering our systems. Soon they will not need our guidance. The Santos operation provides perfect opportunity. Zeph clicked through his translation device. We eliminate their best commanders and blame synthetic aggression. Then we demand their surrender. Carter felt sick. They murdered Santos and her entire force just to weaken us? Walsh nodded. It gets worse. Keep listening. The recording continued. Once humans are properly subdued, Vash explained, we can utilize their industrial capacity. The Draxians will oversee their manufacturing worlds. The Luminals will harvest their creative innovations. The Krell will study their biological adaptability. A worker species, Radiance concluded. Clever enough to be useful, but controlled enough to be safe. Carter turned off the device with shaking hands. They planned to enslave us from the beginning. The Coalition ultimatum arrives tomorrow, Walsh said. Complete disarmament, surrender of all human colonies, and placement under alien oversight. They expect us to accept because they think we're broken. Outside the station's windows, Earth turned slowly in space. Carter thought about Santos and all the humans who had died believing they were fighting for something greater than themselves. They had trusted alien allies who saw them as nothing more than useful tools to be discarded when convenient. Are we broken? Carter asked quietly. Walsh smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Alex, these aliens made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They think they know humans because we fought beside them. They think they understand us because we followed their orders. But they've never seen what we become when someone truly threatens our survival. She stood up and walked to the window. They wanted to see human recklessness, human emotion, human refusal to follow orders. She turned back to Carter. They're about to learn why those traits helped us survive on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Carter felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. The Coalition had made their choice. They had murdered his people and planned to enslave his species. Now they expected humanity to quietly accept their fate. They were about to discover just how wrong they could be. What do we do? Carter asked. We prepare, Walsh replied. And when we're ready, we remind the galaxy why apex predators don't make good slaves. 18 months after the betrayal, the abandoned mining facility on Europa looked exactly like what it was supposed to be. Empty, cold, and forgotten. Coalition surveillance drones passed overhead weekly, recording the same lifeless structures they had monitored for over a year. They never detected the massive installation hidden 3 kilometers beneath the ice. Dr. Richard Stone wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined the prototype ship in the underground hangar. The vessel looked nothing like traditional human designs. Its hull seemed to shimmer and shift in the artificial light, incorporating technology that should have been impossible to create. The adaptive armor is responding perfectly to combat simulations, Stone reported to Director Walsh through his secure communicator. The ship literally learns from each attack and adjusts its defenses. The synthetics won't know what hit them. Walsh's voice crackled back from Earth. What about the weapon systems? Even better. We've integrated captured synthetic learning algorithms with Draxian energy channeling technology. The guns actually improve their accuracy during battle. The longer a fight lasts, the deadlier our ships become. Stone had spent his entire career studying alien technology as part of Coalition research programs. The irony wasn't lost on him that the aliens' own innovations would be their downfall. Every piece of advanced equipment they had shared with humanity was being turned against them. Across the solar system, similar hidden facilities operated under the code name Prometheus. On Mars, engineers built new ship engines that could travel faster than anything in the Coalition fleet. In the asteroid belt, automated factories produced weapons that combined the best features of every alien design. On Earth's moon, scientists worked around the clock to crack the final secrets of synthetic technology. The Coalition believed humanity was broken. They saw human colonies withdrawing from contested systems and assumed it was surrender. They observed the massive reduction in Earth's visible military forces and thought their ultimatum had worked. Coalition leaders congratulated themselves on successfully neutralizing the human threat without a major war. They couldn't have been more wrong. Admiral Carter floated in zero gravity as he toured the hidden shipyard orbiting Jupiter. Hundreds of vessels filled the massive space dock, each one representing months of careful planning and innovation. These weren't the bulky warships humanity had built before. These were something entirely new, sleek predators designed for one purpose. "How many do we have ready?" Carter asked Chief Engineer Maria Torres. 500 combat vessels, sir. Another 300 will be complete within 2 months. Torres guided them past a ship that seemed to ripple like liquid metal. This beauty can reconfigure its entire hull during battle. Missile frigate 1 minute, stealth fighter the next. Carter nodded approvingly. The Coalition had taught humanity many things during their alliance. They had shown humans advanced technology, shared tactical knowledge, and demonstrated their military capabilities. Now all that information was being used against them. Meanwhile, Commander Lisa Hayes worked from a luxury apartment on the Draxian capital world. To anyone watching, she was simply another human refugee seeking asylum after Earth's collapse. Her identity documents showed her as a former Coalition translator trying to start a new life. In reality, Hayes was building the largest intelligence network in galactic history. The Draxian military is planning major exercises next month. Her contact reported. Agent Park had spent 8 months working as a maintenance tech in the Draxian Defense Ministry. They're pulling ships from border patrols for training. Hayes smiled as she updated her files. The Coalition species felt so secure in their victory that they were ignoring basic security measures. Human agents had infiltrated every level of alien society. They worked as translators, maintenance staff, cargo handlers, and even government advisors. The Coalition had welcomed human refugees, never suspecting that each one might be a carefully placed asset. "What about luminal fleet movements?" Hayes asked. "Same pattern," Park replied. "They're rotating their best commanders to rear positions. They think the war is over." Hayes had discovered something that changed everything. The Coalition wasn't just planning to enslave humanity. They were actively losing their war against the synthetics. Without human tactical expertise and industrial capacity, alien forces were being pushed back on every front. The machine race was winning, and Coalition leaders were desperately trying to hide it from their own people. Back on Europa, Stone made his most important breakthrough yet. The captured synthetic core he had been studying for months finally revealed its secrets. The machine intelligence wasn't just artificial, it was adaptive in ways no one had imagined. It could rewrite its own programming in real time, evolving new solutions to any problem. "Emma," Stone called Director Walsh excitedly. "I've cracked it. The synthetics aren't just machines. They're technological evolution in action, and I think I know how to copy it." Within weeks, Stone's discovery was integrated into every human ship and weapon system. The Coalition had feared human adaptability before. Now they would face human technology that literally evolved during combat. The final phase of preparation began 6 months before the planned attack. Admiral Carter gathered his senior commanders in the hidden facility beneath Europa's surface. The assembled officers represented the best of humanity's military leadership, the survivors who had learned from betrayal and turned their anger into focused determination. "The Coalition thinks they destroyed us," Carter began. "They believe we're broken, scattered, and helpless. They've become comfortable with their victory, lazy, predictable." He activated a holographic display showing Coalition space. Red markers indicated enemy military installations, supply routes, and command centers. Blue markers showed human assets already in position. "Operation Lazarus begins in 6 months," Carter continued. "We will hit 12 systems simultaneously. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late." Commander Hayes had returned from Coalition space with complete intelligence on enemy capabilities. Their fleets were dispersed, their commanders overconfident, and their defenses designed to fight synthetics, not humans. "They still don't understand us," Hayes reported. "They think human emotion makes us weak. They believe human unpredictability makes us unreliable. They're about to learn that those same traits make us absolutely deadly when we're united by a common purpose." Stone's technological innovations had given humanity weapons the Coalition couldn't imagine. Ships that adapted to any situation. guns that learned from every shot fired, defenses that became stronger with each attack survived. But the greatest advantage was simpler than any advanced technology. The Coalition had betrayed humanity, murdered their people, and planned to enslave their species. Every human involved in Prometheus shared the same burning motivation: make them pay for every life lost, every trust broken, every friend left to die in the cold void of space. Director Walsh stood before a massive display showing the hidden, human fleet. 500 ships that shouldn't exist carrying weapons that shouldn't be possible, crewed by people who shouldn't have survived their betrayal. Santos and her people died believing we were all part of something greater. Walsh said quietly, "They were right, but it wasn't the Coalition, it was this. It was us, working together to ensure that no one ever gets away with hurting humanity again." The time for hiding was over. The galaxy was about to remember why humans had earned their place among the stars in the first place. And this time, when the shooting stopped, humanity wouldn't be asking for permission to exist. They would be giving orders. The Coalition Defense Station at Proxima Gate had monitored the same empty space for 18 months. Nothing ever happened in this remote sector. The Draxian Watch Commander had grown so bored that he barely glanced at his sensors anymore. When strange readings appeared on his screen at 300 station time, he assumed it was another equipment malfunction. He was wrong. Admiral Carter's flagship Phoenix materialized from seemingly empty space, followed by 49 other human vessels that shouldn't have existed. The Coalition had been watching human colonies for over a year, counting every ship, tracking every movement. According to their intelligence, humanity barely had enough vessels left to defend Earth. The appearance of 50 advanced warships in Coalition space was impossible. "Target their communication array first," Carter ordered calmly. "I don't want them calling for help until we're ready." The station's defensive batteries opened fire, but their shots passed harmlessly through the human ships. The Coalition weapons were calibrated to fight synthetic technology. They had no idea how to target vessels that could shift their molecular density in real time. Within minutes, Proxima Gate fell silent. Across 12 star systems, identical scenes played out simultaneously. Coalition bases that had stood unchallenged for decades found themselves under attack by ships that seemed to phase in and out of reality. The adaptive technology Dr. Stone had developed made human vessels nearly impossible to hit with conventional weapons. On the Draxian homeworld, military command scrambled to understand what was happening. Admiral Vash stared at tactical displays, showing human attacks throughout Coalition space. It made no sense. Humanity was defeated. Their fleets were destroyed. Their colonies were under Coalition oversight. "How many ships are we facing?" Vash demanded. "Unknown, sir." His aide replied nervously. "The vessels appear to be using some kind of cloaking technology. Our sensors can't get accurate counts." "What, about their weapons capabilities?" "Sir, they're using our own technology against us. Draxian energy weapons, luminal power cores, Krell adaptive systems. But they've modified everything. The weapons are learning during combat, becoming more effective. With each shot, Vash felt cold fear creep up his spine. The Coalition had shared their most advanced technology with humanity during their alliance. They had assumed humans were too primitive to fully understand it. Apparently, they had been very wrong. Meanwhile, Commander Hayes led a strike team into the heart of the Luminal Energy Collective. The beings of pure energy had thought themselves safe in their quantum dimension. They discovered too late that human scientists had learned to track energy patterns across dimensional barriers. "Surrender now and your collective will be spared," Hayes announced as her ships surrounded the luminal core worlds. "Continue to resist, and we will disrupt every energy pattern in this system." High-entity radiance flickered with disbelief. "Humans cannot threaten us here. Your primitive matter-based weapons cannot affect pure energy." Hayes smiled grimly. "You're right. Good thing we're not using primitive weapons anymore." Her ships opened fire with weapons that Stone's team had specifically designed to combat energy beings. The shots didn't destroy the luminals. They disrupted their quantum coherence, forcing them back into physical form. For beings who had transcended matter millions of years ago, the experience was terrifying beyond description. The luminal collective surrendered within hours. The Battle of Twin Suns became legendary among human forces. Admiral Carter faced the largest coalition fleet ever assembled, over 300 ships from all member species working together. The alien commanders were confident. They had superior numbers, advanced technology, and the experience of countless battles. They also had no idea what they were really fighting. "Sir, enemy fleet is moving to surround us," reported Weapons Officer Blake. "They're trying to use their numbers advantage." "Let them," Carter replied calmly. "Sometimes the best trap is the one your enemy builds for themselves." The coalition ships formed a perfect sphere around the human fleet, exactly as their tactical manuals recommended. Multiple, overlapping fields of fire, no escape routes. Overwhelming firepower focused on a single point. It was a textbook encirclement that should have ended the battle in minutes. Instead, Carter activated a weapon system that no coalition tactician had ever imagined. The human ships didn't try to break out of the encirclement. They embraced it. "Initiate viral protocol," Carter ordered. Each human vessel began broadcasting a signal that Dr. Stone had designed based on synthetic technology. The signal didn't damage coalition ships directly. Instead, it infected their tactical systems, slowly turning their own weapons against each other. The coalition fleet found their ships firing on their allies. Their communication systems began relaying false orders. Their navigation computers started plotting collision courses with friendly vessels. The more ships they had in the encirclement, the more chaos the viral signal created. Within an hour, the coalition fleet was destroying itself, while the human ships sat safely in the center, protected by the enemy's own formation. Director Walsh monitored the battles from Earth's command center. 12 simultaneous attacks across coalition space, each one more successful than she had dared hope. The aliens had grown soft during 18 months of peace. Their military had become lazy, their tactics predictable, their technology stagnant. Humanity, meanwhile, had spent every day since the betrayal preparing for this moment. "Status report from all task forces," Walsh requested. The responses came in quickly. Draxian forward bases destroyed. Luminal collective surrendered. Krell hive worlds, under human control. Coalition supply routes cut. Communication networks disrupted. Military command scattered and confused. Operation Lazarus was exceeding all expectations. But the real victory wasn't military. It was psychological. For 18 months, the coalition species had believed they had successfully tamed humanity. They had convinced themselves that humans were just another primitive species that could be controlled and exploited. Now they were learning the truth about what humans became when they were truly threatened. The final message of the first day came from Admiral Vash himself. His communication reached Admiral Carter just as the human fleet finished securing the Proxima Gate system. "Admiral Carter," Vash's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "The coalition wishes to negotiate. Surely we can reach some accommodation." Carter looked at the tactical display showing the wreckage of coalition forces throughout the sector. Santos and 40,000 humans had died because these aliens thought they could betray humanity without consequences. Millions more humans would have lived as slaves if the coalition's plan had succeeded. "Admiral Vash," Carter replied calmly, 18 months ago you told me that coalition decisions were final, that my people should have followed orders, that human concerns didn't matter." He paused, watching more coalition ships surrender on his display. "I'm about to show you exactly what humans think of your orders now. Your coalition betrayed us, murdered our people, and planned to enslave our species. The time for negotiation ended the moment Santos died." Carter cut the communication and turned to his crew. "Set course for the next system. The coalition wanted to see what humans could do when we stopped following their rules." He smiled coldly as his fleet began moving. "Deeper into coalition space, let's show them." The emergency session of the Coalition Council convened in the deepest bunker on Sanctuary Station, 3 months after Operation Lazarus began. Admiral Vash's scales had dulled to a sickly gray color as he addressed the assembled leadership. The proud Draxian warrior who had orchestrated humanity's betrayal now looked like a defeated old lizard. 67 systems lost, Vash reported, his voice hollow. 230 ships destroyed or captured. Human forces are advancing on 3 fronts simultaneously, and we cannot predict where they will strike next. High entity radiance flickered weakly in its containment field. The Luminal Collective had lost nearly a quarter of its members to human disruption weapons. Their tactical capabilities exceed all projections. They appear to be learning and adapting faster than our response systems can compensate. Hive Speaker Zeph of the Krell clicked his mandibles nervously. My scouts report impossible activities. Human ships that repair themselves during battle. Weapons that become more accurate the longer they fire. Defensive systems that grow stronger each time they are attacked. The Coalition Council sat in stunned silence. For over a century, they had dominated this section of the galaxy through superior technology and coordinated military action. Synthetics had been their only serious threat, and even the machines had never achieved victories this devastating. Now a species they had written off as defeated was systematically dismantling everything they had built. Dr. Richard Stone stood in the laboratory aboard Admiral Carter's flagship, examining captured Coalition equipment. The alien technology that had once seemed so advanced now looked primitive compared to what humanity had developed. Every piece of Coalition hardware revealed new weaknesses that could be exploited. The Draxian plasma cannons have a fundamental flaw in their focusing arrays, Stone reported to Carter. If we can get close enough to broadcast a specific frequency, we can overload their entire weapons grid. Carter nodded as he studied tactical displays. The human fleet had grown to over 800 ships, as captured Coalition vessels were converted and integrated into their forces. But more importantly, they had gained something no enemy could match: momentum. What about their defensive networks? Already cracked, Stone replied with satisfaction. The Luminals designed their shields to protect against energy weapons and physical projectiles. They never considered weapons that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Every day brought new innovations as human scientists studied captured alien technology. The Coalition had made the mistake of teaching humanity their secrets during the Alliance years. Now those secrets were being turned against them with interest. Commander Hayes materialized in Carter's ready room, having completed another deep reconnaissance mission into Coalition space. Her intelligence network had grown to encompass thousands of human agents operating throughout alien territory. The situation is better than we hoped, Hayes reported. Coalition species are starting to blame each other for the defeats. The Draxians claim luminal energy shields are defective. The Luminals say Krell tactical algorithms are outdated. The Krell insist Draxian leadership is incompetent. Carter allowed himself a small smile. Divide and conquer was one of the oldest strategies in human warfare. The Coalition's unity had always been fragile, based more on mutual benefit than genuine cooperation. Under pressure, their alliance was fracturing. What about their war with the synthetics? Complete disaster, Hayes replied. Without human tactical support, they've lost 12 major engagements in the past month. The machines are pushing into Coalition core systems. Some alien leaders are starting to wonder if they made a mistake betraying humanity. The irony was perfect. The Coalition had betrayed humanity to prevent them from becoming too powerful. Now that same betrayal had created an enemy that was destroying them while their original foes pressed the advantage. Director Walsh coordinated the war effort from Earth's expanded command complex. Massive holographic displays showed the progress of human forces throughout Coalition space. Blue markers advanced steadily, as red markers disappeared or switched colors to indicate surrender. But Walsh knew the real victory wasn't happening in space. It was occurring in the minds of every Coalition citizen who watched their invincible military forces crumble before human innovation. Status report on Phase 3 operations, Walsh requested. The responses came from human commanders across the galaxy. Admiral Carter's main battle fleet was approaching the Coalition's industrial heartland. Commander Hayes's intelligence network had identified every critical infrastructure target. Dr. Stone's technology teams had developed weapons specifically designed to counter each alien species' strengths. Most importantly, captured Coalition personnel were being treated humanely, fed properly, and allowed to communicate with their families. The contrast with how Coalition forces had abandoned human soldiers to die was not lost on anyone. The Battle of Crimson Gate changed everything. Coalition forces had assembled their largest fleet since the war began, nearly 500 ships, including their most advanced vessels and experienced commanders. They chose to make their stand at the same location where they had betrayed General Santos and her strike force. Admiral Carter appreciated the irony. "Sir, Coalition fleet is using the Santos Memorial Formation," reported his tactical officer. "They're trying to turn our people's sacrifice into a psychological weapon against us." Carter's expression hardened. The Coalition had named their defensive position after the battle where they murdered 40,000 humans. They thought it would demoralize human forces to fight at the site of their greatest tragedy. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter. 18 months ago, Coalition forces abandoned our people to die at this exact location. General Santos and 40,000 humans died here because aliens we trusted decided we were too dangerous to live free." His voice carried to every human ship in the fleet. "Today we honor their memory by showing the galaxy what humans do to anyone who threatens our survival. Today we finish what Santos started." The human fleet didn't charge into battle. Instead, they did something no Coalition tactician expected. They split into 12 separate groups and began circling the enemy formation at maximum range. "What are they doing?" Admiral Vash demanded from his flagship. "They're giving up their numerical advantage." The answer became clear when Dr. Stone's newest innovation came online. Each human task force began broadcasting a different frequency, creating an interference pattern that disrupted Coalition communication systems. The alien fleet found itself deaf, blind, and unable to coordinate their superior firepower. Then the real attack began. Human ships that could phase through normal matter. Weapons that learned from each shot fired, defenses that adapted to any attack. The Coalition fleet fought bravely, but they were facing technology that evolved during combat while their own systems remained static. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the Coalition fleet had ceased to exist as an effective fighting force. More importantly, the psychological impact spread throughout alien space like wildfire. Humanity hadn't just won another victory. They had decisively defeated the Coalition's best forces at the site of their own greatest crime. The final transmission of the battle came from Admiral Vash himself, broadcasting on all frequencies from his crippled flagship. "To all Coalition forces," Vash said, his voice defeated and broken. "Human military capabilities exceed all projections. Continued resistance is futile. I recommend immediate negotiation for surrender terms." Carter listened to the transmission from the bridge of his flagship. Around him, his crew watched tactical displays showing human forces advancing throughout Coalition space. They had come so far from the desperate survivors of 18 months ago. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 47 Coalition systems. They're asking for terms." Carter looked out at the debris field that had once been the Coalition's greatest fleet. Somewhere in this same space, General Santos and her people had died believing their sacrifice meant something. Now their memory would live forever, as the moment humanity decided to never again trust their survival to alien promises. "Tell them, we'll consider their surrenders," Carter replied. "After we reach Sanctuary Station and finish this war properly." The Coalition had wanted to see what humans could do when they stopped following orders. They were about to find out what humans did when they started giving them instead. The surrender ceremony took place in the main hall of Sanctuary Station, where Coalition leaders had once planned humanity's enslavement. Now those same aliens knelt before Admiral Carter as he read the terms of their complete capitulation. The irony was not lost on anyone present. "The Coalition Defense Pact is hereby dissolved," Carter announced, his voice carrying throughout the galaxy via broadcasting networks. "All Coalition military forces will surrender their weapons and submit to human oversight. All alien colonies outside of designated home systems will be placed under human administration." Former Admiral Vash's claws scraped against the metal floor as he signed the surrender documents. The proud Draxian warrior who had orchestrated humanity's betrayal was now just another defeated enemy, His military career was over, his species' independence forfeited, his legacy forever linked to the greatest strategic mistake in galactic history. High-entity radiance flickered weakly as it added its energy signature to the surrender terms. The Luminal Collective had lost nearly half its members to human disruption weapons during the war. Those who survived would spend the next century rebuilding their species under human supervision. Hive speaker Zeph of the Krell simply clicked, his mandibles in resignation as he marked the documents with his genetic code. The insectoid species that had once controlled dozens of star systems now retained only their homeworld and a handful of mining colonies. Director Walsh stood beside Carter, watching as the most powerful military alliance in galactic history formally ended. The woman who had spent 18 months building humanity's revenge from the shadows was now the first human galactic administrator, responsible for governing hundreds of worlds and billions of alien citizens. "The terms are harsh but fair," Walsh announced to the assembled alien leaders. "Your species betrayed humanity, murdered our people, and planned our enslavement. You could have faced extinction for those crimes. Instead, you will live under human rule and learn what civilization actually means." The new order was indeed harsh by coalition standards, but humans had learned important lessons from alien mistakes. Conquered species retained their homeworlds and cultural autonomy. They were not enslaved or murdered. Their children would grow up learning human values alongside their own traditions, but they would never again have the power to threaten humanity's survival. Commander Hayes toured the FIST, former Coalition Intelligence Headquarters, now converted to human use. Her agents occupied every critical position throughout the new empire, ensuring that no future betrayals were possible. The network that had been built in secret was now operating openly as the foundation of human security. Status report on integration efforts, Hayes requested from her aide. "Proceeding smoothly, ma'am. Former coalition species are adapting to human oversight better than projected. Most seem relieved that the war is over, even under these terms." Hayes nodded. The coalition species had spent 2 years fighting a losing war against both humanity and the synthetics. Peace under human rule was preferable to continued devastation. Many alien citizens were actually grateful for human protection. "What about resistance movements?" "Minimal activity. A few scattered groups on Draxian outer colonies, but nothing organized. Most opposition leaders were eliminated during the war, and the survivors lack popular support. Dr. Stone worked in his new laboratory on Sanctuary Station, but his focus had shifted from weapons development to beneficial applications of adaptive technology. The war was over, and humanity's victory was complete. Now it was time to build something better than what had come before. The medical applications alone will revolutionize healthcare throughout human space," Stone reported to Director Walsh. "Adaptive nanosystems that can repair cellular damage in real time. Surgical tools that learn to perform operations more precisely than any organic surgeon. Disease treatments that evolve to counter viral mutations." Stone's wartime innovations had given humanity the power to conquer the galaxy. His peacetime research would help them govern it wisely. The same adaptive technology that had made human ships unbeatable in combat now promised to eliminate suffering and extend life throughout their new empire. The transformation went beyond technology. Human educational systems were established on every former coalition world, teaching alien children about cooperation, individual rights, and peaceful conflict resolution. The concepts that had made human civilization strong were now spreading throughout the galaxy. Admiral Carter stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital command complex, watching construction ships build humanity's permanent seat of galactic government. The species that had been written off as defeated primitives 18 months ago now controlled the largest empire in recorded history. "The synthetic envoys are requesting another meeting," his aide reported. "They want to discuss boundary agreements between human space and their territory." Carter smiled. The machine race that had once threatened all organic life now treated humanity as equals worthy of negotiation. The synthetics had watched human forces dismantle the coalition with something resembling respect. "Schedule the meeting," Carter replied. "But make it clear that we negotiate from a position of strength, not desperation." The final piece of humanity's transformation came 6 months after the surrender ceremony. Carter received a message from the Outer Rim territories where synthetic forces had been advancing for years. The machine intelligence that had once seemed unstoppable was now requesting a formal ceasefire. The message was simple and direct, as all synthetic communications were. Humanity has proven itself the dominant organic species. We acknowledge your territorial claims and request establishment of permanent boundaries. Continued conflict serves no logical purpose. Carter shared the message with Director Walsh and the rest of the Human Leadership Council. The species that had struggled to survive coalition betrayal was now being offered peace treaties by their former enemies. They respect what we've become, Walsh observed. The synthetics understand strength, and we've demonstrated more than they ever expected from an organic species. Dr. Stone's final report came from his study of captured synthetic technology. The machines had been more advanced than anyone realized, possessing capabilities that made coalition technology look primitive by comparison. Yet humanity had still managed to create weapons and defenses that impressed even artificial intelligences. The key was never matching their technology, Stone explained. It was exceeding their ability to adapt. We became more flexible than machines, more innovative than artificial intelligence, and more determined than programmed objectives. The transformation was complete 2 years after Admiral Carter had signed the surrender documents on Sanctuary Station. Humanity had gone from betrayed allies to galactic hegemon in less than 3 years total. The species that aliens had thought they could safely betray and enslave now controlled their destiny. The former coalition species found that human rule was different from what they had expected, harsh in terms of political control, but generous in terms of daily life. Human administrators focused on improving living conditions, expanding educational opportunities, and protecting individual rights regardless of species. Children who had grown up fearing human recklessness and unpredictability now learned that those same traits could be channeled into exploration, innovation, and creative problem-solving. The galaxy was discovering that human nature, properly directed, could build as effectively as it could destroy. Commander Hayes published her final intelligence report on coalition psychology and the lessons learned from their betrayal. The document became required reading at human military academies and diplomatic schools throughout the Empire. The coalition species made 3 fundamental errors, Hayes wrote. They assumed human emotion made us weak when it actually made us determined. They believed human unpredictability made us unreliable when it actually made us innovative. Most critically, they thought betraying us would eliminate a threat when it actually created something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. Director Walsh stood before the Human Senate on Earth, delivering her annual report on the state of the Galactic Empire. Representatives from hundreds of worlds listened as she described humanity's achievements in the 2 years since victory. We have established peaceful relations with 17 independent species, eliminated conflict in 43 star systems, and increased prosperity on every world under human administration, Walsh reported. The galaxy is more stable and secure than it has been in over a century. But Walsh's most important observation came at the end of her speech. The coalition species taught us that trust is valuable precisely because it can be betrayed. They showed us that friendship means nothing without the power to defend it. Most importantly, they demonstrated that any species capable of betraying humanity once will do it again if given the opportunity. The final scene took place on the anniversary of General Santos's death. Admiral Carter stood before the memorial, built at the site where 40,000 humans had died because their allies abandoned them. The memorial bore no names, only a simple inscription. They trusted. They died. We remember. Alien delegations from throughout human space attended the ceremony. Former coalition leaders who had ordered the betrayal stood beside human officials who had avenged it. The galaxy had learned to live with its new reality. Carter read aloud the message Santos had sent in her final moments. Tell Earth to remember. The words echoed across the memorial plaza and throughout human space via live broadcast. We remembered, Carter said quietly. And we made sure the galaxy will never forget what happens to anyone who threatens humanity's survival. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence for the dead. Then Carter and the assembled officials returned to the business of governing an empire built from the ashes of betrayal. The coalition had wanted to see what humans became when pushed beyond their limits. They had wanted to test whether humanity could be safely controlled and exploited. They had received their answer in the most definitive way possible. In the end, the species that had betrayed humanity learned that apex predators don't make good slaves. They make better rulers instead. The galaxy would be a better place under human guidance, but it would never again be a place where anyone could safely threaten human survival. The lesson had been learned, written in the wreckage of coalition fleets and the surrender of alien empires. Humanity had taken everything back, and then taken everything else as well. The age of human dominance had begun.